Do you find that in your life, anytime you pick a particular dream, a vision, something for your life, that as you start to work towards it, not too long after, you start to think, you know what, come to think, I don't want this anymore. You feel this vitality about that direction leave you, and you don't know why. And this isn't a discipline issue, because you've shown discipline in the past with everything else. This isn't a overcoming challenges issue, because you faced challenges in your life and you were able to overcome them. But why is it that this is happening? What's causing this to repeat? And that's what I'm going to talk about today. And in fact, I'm going to say at the very end of the video how this is actually a wonderful opportunity and a calling for something greater. But before we get into it, for the returning viewers, welcome back, everybody. I'm always so happy to have you here. And if you're resonating and liking the content that I'm putting out there, if I can ask for a favor, just go ahead and click that subscribe button, like, share, comment, this so we can lift the channel out of that new channel phase and help spread this to as many people as possible that need it. And then for the new viewers out there, welcome. My name is Estevan, and I help guide and mentor individuals rediscover who they truly are by peeling back the narratives that control our lives, that get us stuck in loop patterns and repeated habits of action thoughts that leave us in a direction that we do not want to go in. And to peel that back, to emerge as your true inner divine self. So we got to ask ourselves, why is this happening? Why are we repeating this pattern? Fundamentally, from not just my own experience, but every person I work with who has this particular, let's say, roadblock in their psyche, in their life, it comes down to you're chasing something that's not really yours, but rather something inherited. And it takes two to tango. It was sort of somewhat self-manufactured, but at the same time, it was something that was handed to you. And oftentimes, these are handed to us when we're very young. Our minds are fresh. They're quick to download everything, and they're quick to adapt to the environment we're living in. If you kind of think back and you sort of reflect on what your dynamic was like with your mother, your father, or a caregiver, siblings, school friends, what was the overall, how would you say, pattern? What was the message you keep getting in your head? In other words, what was the story of your childhood? Were you the kid that had to prove himself? Were you the kid that was supposed to be an academic? You were supposed to go to school and do very well? Were you someone who was supposed to build this great business or take the business from your father or your mother and carry it forward? What was the story? And then if you ask yourself, truthfully, was I doing everything, building things, chasing things, having opinions, built friendships that had influence, either direct or peripheral? Was it because of the story? Was it because of the narrative? This may not come to you right away, which is why I always recommend journaling in my work. Journaling is a fantastic way to just separate, create some distance from sometimes the fog in our head. We're not able to see clearly. So by writing it out allows you to actually see it and to reflect on it. And this is a really important question, because if I go back and I just bring up a little bit of my story where, for a long time, my childhood, most of it was the story and the narrative was not good enough. You're not quite smart enough. You're not quite strong enough. You're not quite funny enough. And so there was a proving element to it, which then leads me to the next main phase and main stage and topic is If there's a story that controls our lives, so for me it was for a long period, proving myself constantly. And so from that narrative, we then seek for the majority of our life until we actually observe it. We seek to disprove or prove that story to be true or false. We seek to disprove or prove. Those are directions we go. Deeper than that is a base of fear. If I don't do this, my parents will be disappointed. And you can be 30 years old, 35 years old, 40 years old. Your parents could have passed. But if we do not actually contend and see the narrative and actually sit down and look at it truthfully and honestly with all its maybe ugliness and sadness, then it will still run your life. You will still have the remnants, the emotion, the gravitational pull of that story continually leading you on. And you can reflect on your own life and see that could be the case. That there are bullies. For example, I've had bullies when I was young, but when I even move past it and never seen them again, their effect on me, their dialogue that they launched into my head still remained. It still repeated. And it still affected how I approached group gatherings. It affected how I approached speaking in public. It affected how I looked in front of other people. Did I look strong? Did I look weak? It follows you. Now the question is, if that's the case, so then what do we really do about it? And this goes back to the very first thing I said, where this is truly and actually an opportunity, something of a spiritual rebirth, appealing, if you will. Because part of you, the deeper part of you, the divine self in you, knows this is not the right direction. You feel in you that something is a mirage, something is not feeling exactly authentic here. You're not able to pin it, but something is not feeling right. And when that alarm kicks in to a particular direction you're moving, that is the signal you're feeling that's saying, I don't think this is it. And then you get labeled someone who quits, you get labeled as someone who changes their mind often. I totally understand that was part of me as well. I had a lot of ideas, and luckily, I eventually picked one thing, and jiu-jitsu was that thing, and I stuck with it for 13 years. But the narrative was very gripping for me in that case, and its gravitational pull was very stuck. And I also did love what I was doing. I did love the sport itself. But everything else around it was narrative fulfillment, trying to fulfill and show that I am capable and I am strong through jiu-jitsu. And then it started to pollute it, because then I chased just medals, and I tried to chase accolades and status and all these things before eventually it all came crashing down psychologically when the soul said, I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. And this eventually leads me to my next point. Even if you're pursuing something against the intuitive self that you have, the sense of knowledge that is God's knowledge, the universe's knowledge that sits within you, buried behind the story, is the very thing that at some point will just take it away. It'll just force you, it'll shake you and say, dude, we have to wake up, that we can't keep moving in this direction anymore. Is it a grieving moment? Absolutely. It's going to hurt a lot because it's something you've maybe really thought about and you've really poured into. But this doesn't mean that if you shed the story away, that you have to be this individual to prove themselves all the time, or the individual that has to please everybody all the time. Once we're able to shed away, remove that story, and then reconnect with that divine child that you have within you, the divine child that is of infinite possibility, infinite potential, infinite love, joy, excitement, passion, and purpose. It is in there in more ways than we can even comprehend. And so what I encourage you to do is to dig down into your story. What is the story that's controlling your life? And then once you can dig down and figure out that story, it is bit by bit giving grace, giving gratitude, thanking that story because it served a purpose for you. It did. It helped you navigate through tough times, but we're at a point now where you're feeling within you it's time. But of course, like anything, it's always tough to let go. And letting go doesn't have to be all at once. It could be little by little. Just every single day, ask yourself this question. Who is it that I want to become now? And how do I rewrite my story from that place? If you think about who you want to become, who you want to turn into now, since the story has been revealed to you and you are ready to rewrite your life story, what do you want to become? And when you leave that open and you ask that question to your deeper self, nothing but energy and power will come to you at some point, and it will. And then you will have no doubt as to what you need to do. And even if that changed, it doesn't matter because you're no longer chasing something from fear. You're no longer chasing something to prove or disprove. You are simply existing in relationship with that infinite power of God, the infinite power of the universe that is speaking through you now. And when you get to that place, there's no going back. Give it a go. And it will help. You just have to do it consistently in time. And if you want to watch actually a full breakdown of how I approach my work in terms of decoding the mind and figuring out the story and what is actually controlling us, if you want to see a full breakdown of that, you can click right here and watch. Thank you very much, and I will see you on the next video.